Lucky Lefty podcast. The Onora boys are half in the building. Shaun Davis. We're having some technical difficulties with Malik. He is actually in transition driving back to LA from Arizona. We are brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. That premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you're going to drink, by all means, make sure that you do so responsibly. Crazy weekend in the NFL. Super Bowl 57. It was everything I wanted it to be. Got the performances that I wanted to see from both quarterbacks. And I thought it was going to be a very good game. And I thought it could go either way. Fantastic. We'll talk about that. And then, we want to salute the legendary offensive line coach, Harry Hiestand, on his retirement. We'll talk about that. We'll give him his flowers. And then I'll let you know why I don't like it one bit. I don't like it one bit. We'll talk about that. OC hire. Could it be close to being done? Was your next OC on campus this weekend? Did he partake in a hockey game? That's something else we'll get into as well. And with Harry Hiestand being gone, does that make it easier to attract the next OC, knowing that he can bring in his own offensive line coach? That's going to be very interesting as well. We'll get into that. And of course, Notre Dame's freshmen and a few of the transfers met with the media over the weekend. And I want to say kudos to not only ND Media. You guys know the entire season I threw flowers at ND Media and how they really upgraded the overall coverage for the Notre Dame fan base. And on top of that, I want to throw in the PR department because they really chose the personality of these incoming freshmen. Like when you see the personality of the incoming freshmen that met with the media, you understand why they were the first ones out to go ahead and represent Notre Dame and how they transitioned into the football program. It was absolutely fantastic to hear those young men talk. So we'll talk to them. We'll jump in with them and see what they had to say. Some very funny stuff. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube as well, Lucky Lefty Podcast. CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown. All of our great content. You can go over there right now. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. You already know. We spin it different. Where do I start? There's so much to get to. I'm going to try and do it. By the way, there is no recruiting show today at Irish Breakdown. We're going to move the recruiting show from today to Friday. The recruiting show is going to be Friday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Today, there's so much to get to with Harry Hiestand that we decided to make that move. So right after this, tap into Irish Breakdown. I believe Ryan Roberts and Brian Driscoll, they're going to have some fantastic information about the Harry Hiestand retirement and some other things. Now, let's get back to what we want to talk about. Super Bowl 57. That's some things I found out. I told you guys Friday. And I had people like hit me up after the show, comments like, Shaun, I don't agree with you. You're tripping. There's no way Patrick Mahomes is a first ballot Hall of Famer, regardless of what happens. And I'm like, look, you can be mad at me. You can disagree with me. Be mad at me, you can disagree with me. It's not me that's saying this. There's guys like Kurt Warner, who's in the Hall of Fame, saying it. There's guys like Peyton Manning, who came out publicly on Saturday, and he said it. The people that play the game were saying it before the game. He can retire after the game, regardless of what happens. And he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. And I said it on Friday, and I'll continue to say it. People have a problem with change and transition. There are a lot of people that are upset for whatever reason that they're used to Tom Brady being the face of the NFL. They're used to Tom Brady being the number one quarterback in the world, and that's changed. It's no longer his league. It's Patrick Mahomes' league. He's the face of the NFL. He's the one on top. And he's done something in his first 5 seasons as a starter that has not been done. 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. No one's done it as fast as he's done it. Period. The man is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He can. Andy Reid was debating retirement, according to reports. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes can walk off into the sunset today. They're both first ballot Hall of Famers. Both. Because Andy Reid cemented his legacy with that second Super Bowl on yesterday. I'm not here. It was a great game. I don't care about that last call. There are a lot of calls throughout a game that get missed or shouldn't be called, that whatever. What you just saw from the first quarter of the Jaguars game to the end of the Super Bowl is one of the greatest, I'm not about to debate the greatest, one of the greatest resilient performances by a pro athlete to win a championship. To come back in that Jaguar game, hobble. To go into the matchup against Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, who, according to most, had their number, hobbled. And to go into that Super Bowl and to overcome what is one of the most fantastic performances by a first-time quarterback in a Super Bowl by Jalen Hurts. Absolutely fantastic. Fly Jalen Hurts. Young man, you did yourself. And the narrative of your career, college and pro, is marred by the fact that on 2 occasions you just didn't have the ball last. Deshaun Watson had the ball last in the championship game in college. Patrick Mahomes had the ball last in the Super Bowl yesterday. Your resume and your career could look totally different if it were not for that. Kudos to you. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Nick Sirianni rubs me the wrong way just a little bit, so I was kind of happy to see him humbled a little bit yesterday. I was happy to see him humbled just a little bit. I really was. I'm all for brash, talking a little trash, but he's just a little over the top for me. Just a little over the top for me. You know? But it was man, I'm telling you. Oh man, it's a hell of a play. Hell of a play. Hell of a game. Kudos to everybody. I enjoyed, look, some people got tired of the Kelsey angle all week. I enjoyed his parents, especially their mom. Absolutely enjoyed it. Absolutely enjoyed it. She had the best comment yesterday. She said, I get to cheer for both offenses. And that's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic to watch. I think Rihanna was solid. She was solid. She didn't need to do anything else. That's not her flow to go in any other direction. She was solid. Solid halftime celebration. And honestly, overall, I think the NFL comes away fantastic on yesterday. They had a fantastic playoff on the AFC side and a fantastic Super Bowl. The NFC was kind of marred by injuries and some other things. But other than that, man, hey, I'm not doing that today. We're not doing that. Rihanna was nowhere near awful. Stop. If you don't like her music, fine. If you want somebody that's going to gyrate and do something that you prefer, fine. But have a sense of objectivity of the choreography, the overall look that was given, and the fact that the hits she sang hits. Her Billboard chart numbers can't be denied. So the fact that you would use the word awful in her performance just shows how awful your thought process was. Period. We're not doing that today, man. Be better. Just be better. Ridiculous. Lucky Lefty podcast. Thank you. The majority of the people feel like, yo, no one expected her to be. This is funny. Ryan Loftus, did you say that about your boy that performed on the Grammys? Did you bring up Satan on Monday's show after he performed last week? Y'all some real special people. Oh, absolutely. Hey, Brendan Standard. Hey, let me tell you something, man. I'm a huge Chris Stapleton fan. As a songwriter, as a composer, as a musician, and that man's voice, man, the texture of his voice, I'm going to be honest with you, man. The texture of his voice is almost the perfect texture for the national anthem. I'm going to be real. If I had to pick um, one person in the history of the national anthem, and I'm including Whitney Houston, who I think did an incredible job. That dude's texture of his voice, man, is almost perfect for that song. Absolutely perfect. I'm a huge Chris Stapleton fan. Huge Chris Stapleton fan. Huge Chris Stapleton fan, man. I love that dude, man. But overall, I thought everything yesterday was just. I wasn't disappointed or let down by anything. And dude, that last call, man, I don't get into that. Football 60 minutes. Football 60 minutes. Honestly, if I'm gonna keep it a buck, I thought the Eagles were on their way to winning that game by double digits until Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball. He let them back in the game. And I think I said it last week. If the Eagles, if oh, let me tap in on this right now. Joe, you're absolutely right. We're gonna say that for the petty train, though, Joe. You man, Roger Goodell, the NFL, Arizona, the stadium, and the $800,000 that was wasted. That's all. They all go to the petty train today, Joe. Everybody goes to the petty train. Everybody goes to the petty train on that particular issue. But yeah, Super Bowl was fantastic. You know what's amazing? This is what, dude. So I go on all of the websites that I hop on at like five, starting at like 5, 6 in the morning, right? Just reading stories and everything. It's amazing how many people had stories being held into the day after the Super Bowl. I started seeing odds for baseball. I started seeing odds for college baseball. I started seeing NHL playoff stories. I started seeing stories for just about every professional sport. That in my mind, I'm like, dude, this story could have come out over a week ago, 2 weeks ago. But you can clearly tell that the publication held it. Like, no, we're not, this isn't coming out until after the Super Bowl because it's going to get buried. And no one's going to talk about it at all. No one's going to talk about it. And being in the business, I know how those conversations go. So it's just amazing that the day after the Super Bowl is so monumental in so many ways, especially um, in the media. Um, and Greg, that's right. Greg, you're out there in Arizona, long time listener and supporter of Lucky Lefty. He said, Shaun, I was at the Super Bowl game yesterday. It was absolutely awesome. It just seemed like a great experience. I know it was from people that were there that I spoke to. I spoke to Jared Payton on the field like maybe an hour before he went out to give Dak Prescott the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And he was talking about the vibe and how electric it was. And just, you know, he did tell me the Philly fans outnumbered the Kansas City fans by maybe 2-1 in the stadium. And you could hear that. You could definitely hear that over the TV. It was great. Like, I mean, dude, whatever your opinion was of the call, whatever your opinion was of the halftime show, And for me, it ranks as one of the top 5 overall Super Bowls. It really does. And the reason it did is because it lived up to the billing, in my opinion. It definitely lived up to the billing. And that's all you can ask for. 2 things stood out for me. The better team, from a roster standpoint, doesn't always win. And I truly believe when Notre Dame wins their next national championship, that's going to be the case. Notre Dame probably won't have the best roster, but they're going to find a way to win the game. Time of possession was like what, 35 to 24, something like that. The Chiefs put up 31 points in 24 minutes. Efficiency, opportunity, right? The Eagles pretty much were in that game because of the performance of Jalen Hurts. The Kansas City Chiefs, special teams was huge, even with Bucker missing that first quarter chip shot. Special teams made plays. Patrick Mahomes stepped up. Pacheco stepped up. The offensive line stepped up. Travis Kelce looked like he was on his way to a 100-yard receiving day in the first quarter. Then Kadarius Toney steps up again. Then you have another rookie stepping up when Sky catches the last touchdown pass. It was a complete team effort. And that's what it's going to take for Notre Dame when they ultimately win a national championship. It's going to take a complete team effort. And I think that's what Marcus Freeman ultimately is building this program to be able to do. Right? It's not about 5 stars. It's not about the roster. It's about the complete team effort that it takes to win big time championships. We also said, look, ultimately, if the Philadelphia Eagles win, they're going to win with a college offense in the Super Bowl. I thought that offense showed pretty well. But Kansas City did one thing. They made the Philadelphia Eagles play left-handed if they were right-handed. They took away the run game. They only gave up 47 yards on the ground to that very effective Philadelphia Eagles rushing attack. So, that is the beauty of football, right? All of the numbers, when you look at what Jalen Hurts was able to do with over 370 total yards of offense as a quarterback, tying the touchdown rushing record with Terrell Davis with 3 on the day. The performance he put on, time of possession, 35 minutes, keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field, and they still come away with the L. That's football, man. That's sports, where you can feel like you do everything you need to do and you still lose, right? Biggest mistake as we get ready to transition into Harry Hiestand. Biggest mistake was Nick Sirianni showing just a little bit too much respect, in my opinion, to Patrick Mahomes. For him to come out, because if you watch the game, the Philadelphia Eagles have been fast paced all year, just fast paced. Get to the next play. And they purposely snapped the ball with under 5 seconds throughout the entire game, except for a few moments. And after the game in his press conference, Nick Sirianni said they were focused on making sure that they kept Patrick Mahomes off the field. And I'm like, wait a minute, you have a high octane offense, and your advantage is really speeding up the game and making everything strange for the defense. But then you want to talk about slowing it down? That's not even how you operate. That's not your strength. And I thought he played cautious from that standpoint and didn't tap into one of the advantages that they would have had if he had kept the fast pace that they were used to all season. Just a little bit too much respect to Patrick Mahomes. Like, make it a shootout. That's your game. That's been your game all year. Make Patrick Mahomes have to keep up with you. And then when they allowed them to stay in the game, fourth quarter, I felt like, yeah, this one might be Yeah, that's funny. That's absolutely funny. That's funny, Drunk Vigo. The way it no contact, no strip. Jalen Hurts is just switching the ball to his other hand and just drops it, and then just falls down. And the Chiefs pick it up and run it back. If ever you believed in scripts and ever believed in conspiracy theories when it comes to the NFL, tapping into that one, I can rock with that. I can rock with that. Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. Um, Harry Hiestand, who is beloved by players, staff, everyone pretty much at Notre Dame. The resume is what it is, whether it's college, the development of the offensive line and what they became this year, even into the NFL and what he's placed. Yesterday, the release was put out by Notre Dame, and Harry Hiestand announced his retirement after 40 years of coaching offensive line play in college and the NFL. My first experience with Harry Hiestand was when he was the offensive line coach at Illinois, actually. And that offensive line that he was able to put together that won a Big Ten championship. And then he lands at Notre Dame, and the rest is history. This is his statement. I have made the decision to retire. It is important to me to spend time with my family, as I have two kids competing in college athletics, one for his last season, and I have decided it is time for me to be part of that. I am thankful for the opportunity that Father Jenkins, Jack Swarbrick, and especially Coach Freeman gave me to return for a seventh season coaching the offensive line at Notre Dame. Coach Freeman sets the example for Notre Dame football every day, and he brings out the best in all of us. The players, especially the offensive line, are the best part of this great job, and I thank them for their hard work. Hiestand returned to Notre Dame in 2022 after spending 2018 and 2019 under the boob Matt Nagy with the Chicago Bears. Still can't stand that dude. I hate the fact that he got a Super Bowl yesterday. And he has spent 2012 to 2017 with the Fighting Irish. As I said before, his resume speaks for itself, and this goes beyond Notre Dame, goes to the NFL and the success he had at Illinois, his time there. He is one of the best to ever do it at the position, one of the best to ever follow and talk to. My first opportunity to talk to him was when he was able to speak to the media. Well, all the coaches spoke to the media, and he was the first coach. Now, this is my first moment as part of the media going in to Notre Dame Stadium when we met the new coaches when they were introduced last year. And the first person that spoke to me when I walked in the room was Harry Hiestand. And he made me feel like I was one of his offensive linemen. I walked in and he was like, "What's up, big guy?" And I say, "Hey, how you doing, coach?" And we just started a conversation. It was just like that. Like just like that, just warm, welcoming. And what you would think of him from what you see on the sideline and what we were able to gather from him just watching him coach during practice, this tough son of a gun that pushed his players to be the very best. In that very moment, I probably got a glimpse of what it was like to know Harry Hiestand as the husband, the father, the grandfather, the brother, the uncle, and everything else. He's one of the best parts of Notre Dame. He was one of the comforts of Notre Dame because when Harry was around, you felt like the offensive line was going to be okay. That was one position and one group that you did not have to worry about. And so for that, on today, and I'm sure Malik the next time he's with us is going to share his sentiments. He has a much closer relationship with Harry Hiestand. But as for me, and I'm sure the rest of Notre Dame fans across this world, we have nothing but respect and appreciation for the work you've done for the University of Notre Dame and everything you gave to your players. So, once again, thank you, Harry Hiestand. Eternal blessings and eternal favor to you and your family in the days to come. We appreciate you, Irish fans. Now, I got to keep it a buck because I'm definitely about to keep it a buck. Harry, look, my man, I love you. I appreciate you. But this is connected to Tommy Rees, dude. Okay? We know it, and that's cool. That's the way you want to rock in this situation. In the midst of Marcus Freeman trying to find a new OC, standing up for his staff, to the candidates saying, my staff stays in place, and then you don't want to rock out because Tommy left? Wait a minute, what about the kids? What about the players? What about the young men you just recruited? What about Charles Jagasaw? What about him? Because I understand what you said in the release, but if Tommy Rees was still the OC, everything you just talked about wouldn't have pulled you from Notre Dame. Period. It wouldn't have pulled you from Notre Dame. Now, we talked about it. We understand one of the main reasons and one of the main people that stayed in contact with you, even when Brian Kelly was the head coach, was Tommy Rees. The person that pushed you to come back, even during Brian Kelly's last season, was Tommy Rees. The best relationship you had on the staff was with Tommy Rees. I get it. But you just gonna bail on the kids like that? You just gonna bail on the kids because Tommy left? Really? And at this time, there was no offensive coordinator that you could see eye to eye with other than Tommy Rees? You weren't capable of coaching? Dude, you coached next to Matt Nagy for 2 years. He's a boob. He's an idiot. Every Chicago Bear fan will tell you that. And you couldn't even stick it out for one more season? You couldn't make it through one more recruiting process for the kids, for the coaching staff? So I like all the pleasantries in the very well scripted release that was put out by Notre Dame. Very nicely, I might add, because this had just happened over the weekend. This was known pretty much right after Tommy Rees left. And Notre Dame tried to keep you. Marcus Freeman spoke to you multiple times, trying to keep you in the fold. You said no. As soon as you found out Tommy was bouncing, you decided to bounce. Nice job by Notre Dame trying to bury it in the middle of the Super Bowl. That's nice. I told you, boy, PR at Notre Dame and Notre Dame media, you're doing your jobs. You're doing your jobs. That was very nice how you buried it during the Super Bowl. Kept it real quiet. I like that. I like that. But as much as I love you as a coach and everything you've given to Notre Dame, what you just pulled, that ain't it. That ain't it. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm telling you, I love you, but I can't rock with that. I can't. And you guys let me know because I was watching the Super Bowl. I really didn't have time to type in. I just saw the release come across my email right around the halftime. Did any of the current offensive linemen tweet anything? Let me know in the chat. Did any of the current offensive linemen tweet anything or say anything on social media? So this is truly indeed. If you want to refer to Harry Hiestand as the last little bit of residue from Brian Kelly connected to Tommy Reese, then by all means. I guess you guys are right. Now, the new OC gets to have his own offensive line coach. But like, man, thank you. I didn't see one offensive lineman currently at Notre Dame tweet out much of anything. I saw someone said that Logan Diggs, um, hey, James Bucker. Thanks for tapping in, James. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about Tommy leaving and him deciding to leave. Do you take any thought this is something Marcus would have said and done? We love Marcus, but are you sure it's not? I, James, if you craft that a little bit better for me, because I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're asking as far as Marcus Freeman. I don't know if you're asking. Look, no, I could with 100% confidence. Harry Hiestand left because Tommy Reese left. Period. There is no outlier. There is no other supporting or connected story. Tommy left, so he left. Period. That's it. That's it. Love the man. Love everything he did for the university and his former players. But he left the current offensive line and the 23 recruits dangling in the wind. He did. Okay, Logan Diggs tweeted something out, and I guess Blake Fisher retweeted it. Um, it's no problem, James. No problem. I just wanted to make sure I could properly answer your question, and I wanted clarity. So, look, I'm all for people doing what's best for them in life. But as soon as I read that, I'm like, come on, Harry. That's come on, man. But I understand that's the nature of the business as well. Like when you decide to leave, you have to go ahead and have someone script something that makes sense as to why you're making this decision. So, you know, I wasn't trying to throw dirt on the flowers that I originally gave him. I was just trying to express that I didn't like the way nor the reasoning for why he arrived at the decision that he arrived at. You know, I just think it could have gone a different way and should have gone a different way. But that's just my opinion. Lucky Lefty podcast. All right. Once again, Harry Hiestand, we bid you nothing but greatness and blessings and favor for you and your family and all of your future endeavors. So, Notre Dame introduced just a few of the grad transfers that joined the roster. And they also introduced a few of the freshmen. So we want to start with the grad transfers. And I want to start with someone that was a guest on our podcast, nickel free safety transfer from Oklahoma State, Thomas Harper, who was joined with myself and Malik just a little bit over a month ago. And it was a great conversation. He was very insightful with what was expected of him and what he watched in what he saw with the defense in the Gator Bowl and how he can impact the defense. And he had not been on campus yet, so he was looking forward to getting on campus and just seeing how things are. And he was asked about the adjustment and the difference from Oklahoma State to Notre Dame in his short time being there.
It's definitely a lot. I mean, you have to go to class here, and it's. I mean, you're gonna earn the degree, and I mean, I kind of appreciate that. And then as far as football, weight room wise, it's just a different type of a lift, a different type of strategy, I guess, when it comes to working out and lifting. And I think it'll be beneficial for me being on both sides of the fence and having had both types of training.
Yo, Thomas Harper said you have to earn your degree. That's saying a lot about Oklahoma State, right? Like you actually have to earn your degree here. You actually have to go to class. Like, word? You just gonna throw Oklahoma State? LL Nation, let me know. Should I put Thomas Harper on the petty train? Should I put him on the petty train today for that? Like you actually have to go to class here? Like that that, that was hilarious. I'm like, oh well. Okay. Like, that's how you feel, Thomas? But it's great to hear that, he is integrating himself and loving the Notre Dame atmosphere and the intensity of not only the football side, but the academic side as well. He also went on to say that he has not really pledged which grad degree he's going to be chasing or, you know, going after, and he won't start that until the fall. He made that known. So it was really good to hear him talk about that, to talk about the camaraderie that's going on, even with the workouts. But then he also talked about being a leader, always being a leader, but now the challenge of trying to be more of a vocal leader here at Notre Dame.
I definitely view myself as a leader. Definitely being in college for 4 years and having so much experience. I mean, it's hard not to be, especially with we have a lot of young guys on the team, and I think that they view me. They're gonna be watching me and seeing what I do, being that I got so much experience, and I'm coming from a Big 12 school, so I definitely consider myself a leader.
Can you describe your leadership style?
Yeah, in the past it's been more just by kind of a leader as far as not really vocal, more just show you by example. But I think that's one of the things I want to work on going into the spring is just being more vocal. I think that all the great leaders, if you look at them, I mean, they have the ability to be vocal and also lead by example. So I think adding that vocal leadership to my resume would definitely help me in the future.
And that's good because especially on the back end, one of the things that he pointed out, and I'll say this again because we're going to hear this when we hear from Christian Gray in a moment. There is the same name that constantly pops up when you hear leadership and young players and the veteran players talk about who helps them and gets them involved with the culture and the playbook. And we'll get to that in a second. But him having leadership, that's something that with Ramon Henderson and Xavier Watts still being young at the position as far as playing time, you need that versatility that he brings at free safety in certain situations and also the nickel. And you want to have that leadership, right? So that they don't feel like they have to take on the responsibility as leaders and kind of just play and get better. And they have a couple of years to still grow into becoming leaders within the program. So I love Thomas Harper seeing the opportunity. I love that the staff talked about that expectation of him being a leader and just going ahead and building upon the style of leader that he's been and pulling out of him some of that vocal side that's obviously there. Because if you go listen to the interview that he had with myself and Malik, you'll see the personality and you'll see why both of us truly believe that not only on the field will he be a leader, but he can be a leader off the field for the Fighting Irish. And then I call my guy John the Baptist. That's what I've called him because he's going to baptize quarterbacks for Notre Dame all season long. That's my nickname for him. You might know him as Jean Baptiste, as the French would say, but I'm going to call him John the Baptist for the 2023 Fighting Irish. He met with the media and he was asked, why Notre Dame? How did you come to the decision? And what made you ultimately choose Notre Dame?
Just a long evaluation with my family and thinking about what truly was the best step for me and for the path that I want to take in my future. And, yes, I could have declared this year, but then I feel like I was leaving so much more behind than when I come back.
And then when you're going to make your decision, how much did Coach Washington, your familiarity with him, kind of help Notre Dame or ease your mind?
I think the familiarity with Coach Wash and even Coach Seabass, it did a whole lot for me because, I've been with them 3 years and just knowing them and how they treat their players and their guys and seeing them in action, it made me let me go play for him.
So he's talking about his relationship with defensive line coach Al Washington that played into him ultimately making the decision to join the Fighting Irish. Goes back to Coach Washington's time as the linebacker coach at Ohio State. Had a great relationship, not only with him, but with his roommate at the time. And this is why I go back to Coach Washington. When I was researching him before he was hired, I was watching him talk about his style and why he builds relationships with the young men, regardless of whether or not they choose the school that he's at. Like he's genuinely concerned with the young men that he decides to recruit, and he builds a relationship with those young men, especially especially with the landscape of college football as it exists today, because there might be a time where another opportunity comes where you have the opportunity to recruit that young man once again. It's crazy like that, right? So even if you don't get a young man, leave a lasting impression because you never know in 2 to 3 years, he might be in the portal and he'll remember you from that relationship, which means the school that you are at as a coach has an upper hand in his recruitment. And it ultimately led to Baptiste coming to Notre Dame, according to what he told the media this weekend. What's going to be your impact for the Fighting Irish?
My impact here is to come in, bring a leadership role and bring some value to on the field and just go from there.
Speaking of leadership, what is your leadership style, and are you a vocal leader?
I would say I could be vocal at times, but I might not be the most vocal guy. When things go right or wrong, I'm going to be there to help you, move you through those steps and tell you what you're doing wrong and how you can get better.
Is this an atmosphere where you can come in and become an immediate leader, or are you sitting back and just kind of taking a look, surveying the land and finding where your opportunities might be?
I would say for any player or any person, if you're a leader and it's truly in you, you can lead no matter what. It doesn't matter if there are leaders already, you can come in and step in the role and help them out too.
Once again, leadership. Isn't it amazing that, if you're a vocal leader, either you've been trained or you've been mentored by someone that you've been able to watch, or it's just a natural trait, a natural part of the charisma that you have. Like even with me and the things that I do from a ministry standpoint, my dad was my mentor. And literally, you guys always joke with me about using my hands. That's my dad. Like that just came from watching him as a young lad, just watching him talk and his mannerisms and picking up things. And that became my leadership style. And so to come from other schools like Ohio State and Oklahoma State, I just wonder, you know, because Larry Johnson is a very quiet, stoic leader. He'll get in your face, but he's very quiet, businesslike, and very stoic if you've ever been around him. So I wonder if just coming under Marcus Freeman and being around the coaches on this staff and just seeing how they move and how they operate and the vibe of the culture, if that's going to be able to pull that vocal leadership out of Baptiste and also Thomas Harper, because they see as part of the culture. And this is a player led program. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him. If we get 8 sacks, 8 or more sacks from him, I'm very happy. I am very happy. Now we go to the freshman. And boy, oh boy, we told you all during his recruitment that Christian Gray was one of a kind. We told you he was one of a kind. And he talked about working with Matt Bayless, why he came in early, and his size.
I'm trying. I want to get to 190, but in the weight room they got me at 180 right now for my weight goal.
Christian, I know you've only been here a month, but have you had a moment that sort of reassured you, like, this is why I came to Notre Dame?
Every time in the weight room, that's why. Coach Bayless and all, like, he just remind me every time why I chose Notre Dame. I chose hard because I want to be great. Like, I want to be this humble man, this great man that came out of Notre Dame.
That dude said I chose hard. He had me right there. He had me right there. He said I chose hard. Every time I'm in the weight room with Matt Bayless, it confirms to me that I made the right decision to come to Notre Dame. I chose hard because I want to be humble and I want to be great. Yo, how can you not love this kid, man? Man, how can you not love this kid? How? Like, he gave like the best 6.5 minute first time interview I've ever seen from an incoming freshman. Like, just his reaction when he came downstairs. He comes down the stairs because they were upstairs first talking to the media. Then they come downstairs to meet with the assembled media in front of the lights and cameras. And he walks up and his first thing is like, man, it's a lot of cameras. And he starts messing with his hair like, I didn't prepare for this. I didn't know it was going to be like this. He's like, man, this is my first time. Yeah, welcome to Notre Dame. Welcome to Notre Dame. This is what it's like. This is big time college football, young man. Coach Vic, I know you happy. Look at Coach Vic sticking his chest out all the way from the Lou. That's that St. Louis talk. I hear you, Coach Vic. I hear you. Christian Gray, he went on to talk about not only his size. I think one of the things he said, if he didn't come in early, he would probably still be 172 when he reported for the fall. Now he's at 183. So he's put on 11 pounds of muscle already with Matt Bayless. Literally it's been a month since they reported. And over a month, he's put on 11 pounds of muscle. He said he wants to get up to 190. Like, because he's projecting himself to the NFL. So he wants to get up to 190, but they want him to stay around 180 for his freshman year. So what's been the toughest transition for you, Christian?
Without being out with my mom, like, I always be with her because I'm a mama's boy and everything. So I miss her. So I think that was the hardest transition for her.
How often do you get a chance to talk to her?
Every day and every chance I get. So I be calling her every night. She be sleep, be like, what, Christian? I be like, I just miss you, Mom. So yeah.
What advice has she been giving you?
To stay humble, stay me, stay this goofy Christian Gray, this smart, intelligent man, and just work harder than anybody else.
Yo, I'm telling you, man, this kid, first semester, away from home, mama's boy. What else does a mama's boy do other than call his mom every day? He's not calling home saying, man, this is tough. No, he loves it. He loves the challenge of Matt Balis. Matt Balis confirms to him every day why he chose Notre Dame. He wants the tough. He doesn't want the easy road. But man, I still miss my mama. Man, I still miss her apple pie. I still miss her chicken. I still miss her mac and cheese. I still miss her rubbing my head at night. I still miss laughing with her, cracking jokes with her. Because according to Christian Gray, his mom is the true jokester of the family. Yo, the vulnerability being shown right there. You have to love it from Christian Gray. You have to love it. He also talked about, man, why does this keep coming up? Leadership? Christian, what are you bringing to the table? What have coaches told you that they need from you in this program?
So I got this from Cam Hart, like showing more than just telling. So like when he says like in the weight room, like if Coach Bailey says like you gotta be strong, gotta be hard, like with a great heart, Cam shows it. He just don't tell you. He gonna cheer you on and everything, but he shows it and everything else. And like that's what he's told me about leadership. Like that's big on leadership. So.
You know why I showed that last clip right there? Because it really wasn't a lot. But whether it's Benjamin Morrison last year, whether it was Jaden Mickey, whether it was Thomas Harper, and now on to Christian Gray, there's one name that keeps coming up as the representation of Notre Dame football in that locker room. And I tried to tell people all season, and I tried to tell you 2 weeks ago, that the most selfless person in this Notre Dame program is Cam Hart. One of the greatest examples of what Notre Dame football is on and off the field is Cam Hart. And the young players and the elder statesmen all echo the same name when it comes to who shows them. That's what Christian Gray just told you. I can show you. The old people used to say, I can show you better than I can tell you. That's a different format. Some of you guys maybe have never heard that. That's like a saying back in the day when someone was talking, and they acted like they wanted to humbug. Humbug is another, it's an old school word for fight, get down, whatever. You have someone chirping at you, you just respond to them. Like, I can show you better than I can tell you. I'm not about all that talking. I don't do all that talking, but I'm going to show you. Just watch. Just watch me. And to hear Christian Gray receiving that, downloading that, he's going to be that guy in another 2 years. He might be that guy by the end of his freshman year. Who knows? But once again, Cam Hart, regardless of what you think about his play on the field, he is absolutely one of the most selfless individuals for this Notre Dame program. He is all about Notre Dame. All about Notre Dame. And is glad to hear that, or I'm happy to hear that from just about every body in that defensive back room. Whether you're a safety or defensive back, Cam Hart is that leader. He truly is. Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown via CFB Nation. All of our great podcasts. Leave 5 stars. Leave your comments. We respond to all of them. Also, our YouTube page, Lucky Lefty Podcast. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. Every time we drop something, every time we go live, you'll get us. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. You already know. We spin it different. Last but not least, this is someone that took me. I didn't know he had this personality. Big boy. Big boy. Once again, you guys in the chat were saying, man, it's good to hear somebody talking about Al Washington. Well, you know what? That trend continued with this guy, Devin Hiestand, defensive lineman This kid, this is how he came in. Just check it out.
Learn that it's very, very tiring. I mean, just the day to day, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Getting up early. Not so much late nights. The one thing I will say is I've been going to bed the earliest I've ever have in my life right now, like 9:30, 10 o'clock type bedtimes. But it's great overall, though. I really like it.
And then did your brother give you any valuable advice before you got here?
Yeah, main thing he said was just stay the course. I mean, embrace who you are, embrace the challenges, embrace the struggles, everything, and just stay grounded in who you are and have confidence in yourself and stay the course.
Stay the course. It's great to hear. His brother Caleb Hiestand, formerly a Michigan basketball player, is now in the NBA with the Orlando Magic. Just really started getting some playing time recently, if I'm not mistaken. Getting his feet wet and getting his feet under him in the NBA. But Devin Hiestand, man, so much personality. I guess he was a little late arriving to the podium, so he walks up this big smile. It's like, yo, my bad. And he just had everyone in stitches, man. It's like I said, the individuals that they chose to introduce to the media and represent this incoming freshman class, just fantastic. A fantastic job in choosing the young men that they did. And tomorrow, we're going to get into Ben Minich, Jaden Osbury, and Preston Zinter. They were fabulous as well. We're going to hear from those three guys on tomorrow, Lucky Lefty podcast. Now, he talked about, he's a dancing bear of sorts, right? That's one of the things we learned about him watching this film and hearing from the coaches and why they loved him when they were recruiting him. But he literally dances, like professionally dances, like puts together routines. That's his thing. So he was asked about that, and he was asked, what is your sack celebration going to be like?
Oh, you're going to see everything. You're going to see everything. Mainly hip-hop, though, because, I'm a hip-hop guy. But you're going to see everything. Definitely going to pay attention to what's hot at the moment and everything. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Would you say you're the best dancer already on the team, or it's really to tell?
We haven't had a dance-off or anything like that, but I know the guys rock with my moves. So, I mean, hopefully, everybody got a little something to them, so who knows? Yeah.
Let me tell you something. By the way, I forgot to get this out. Devin Hiestand just reminded me. The Super Bowl yesterday was probably the best combination of touchdown celebrations. Absolutely. There were like four or five really good ones yesterday. I just want to mention that. But also, Devin Hiestand not only said that it's going to help him out as far as his sack celebration and a dance-off with his teammates, but it's part of his tools that he's working on to improve and get early playing time.
No doubt. Dancing helped a lot. Quick feet, all that good stuff. But in terms of coordination, it's helped tremendously. But I'd definitely say it's helped the most in terms of being able to mimic what other people do. Because as you know, pass rush and everything is kind of like an art if you really look at it. And being able to watch someone be able to mimic them is huge. And I think my ability to do that is what sets me apart and definitely helps me along the way.
What are you concentrating on right now to improve your game? What area do you need to improve?
I definitely just say my knowledge of the game as a whole, as well as my toolbox, like in terms of pass rush moves, get off moves, all that kind of good stuff. I'd say that's definitely my biggest area of improvement that I'm looking to fix up for sure.
This kid is one of my sleepers to get on the field early defensively. He's one of my sleepers to get on the field early defensively. I'm very intrigued about how they're going to go about building his body and where he's going to land from a weight standpoint, right? So is he going to be mentored by Howard Cross and kind of stay in that range? Howard Cross really sits at about 270. Realistically, getting to the season, he probably sits in between 270 to 280, fluctuates a little bit. Devin Hiestand has a little bit more stout lower body definitely. So he might be able to operate in the 290s, to really take full advantage of his footwork, the great feet that he has, and just overall game, athleticism, quickness in short spaces. I think his game is definitely going to transition well and give him an opportunity to make an impact early in his Fighting Irish career and early during his freshman campaign. Absolutely. Here we go. Joe, responding to what I said about yesterday. Travis Kelsey had the stanky leg I've ever seen. Like, that's why he had to do this. Because he knew he was going, man, he knew he was over the top with the stanky leg. He it was fantastic though. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it, man. Man, that Super Bowl was flat out entertaining Super Bowl. And it was just fantastic. Lucky Lefty podcast. So we gave you just a little bit of the grad transfers and just a little bit of the incoming freshmen. As I said before, we'll hear from Preston Zinter, Jay Nosberry, and Ben Minich tomorrow on the Lucky Lefty podcast and hear what they had to say about their transition to Notre Dame and the impact that Matt Balis is having on them. We talked about Harry Hiestand. We'll get to your questions and super chats momentarily. But I just wanted to take this time to acknowledge the buzz that was around the campus this weekend because offensive coordinator candidate and now Utah's offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig, who is by far Malik's number one choice to replace Tommy Rees, was on campus. There were pictures floating all over of him at the hockey game with Jared Parker and Marcus Freeman. One could surmise that based upon the body language and based upon the video that surfaced as well, that the talks were, man, the fact that he was here bodes well, number one, that he was on campus, and the fact that he stayed and just reading the body language in the pictures and the body language in the video, it really looks like Andy Ludwig could be the guy. I fully expected that by this Tuesday or Wednesday, Notre Dame media will go ahead and release something, or we will start hearing that someone is truly the lead candidate. But now, with Harry Hiestand leaving and retiring, and with the NFL season ending yesterday, or the football season, college done, NFL, there are even more jobs that are about to open in the NFL. I do expect Al Golden to be a top candidate. And I don't think he is just stuck on being a defensive coordinator. I'm sure he would love to go to the NFL as a defensive coordinator. But I think if he gets the right positional coach situation, I do expect Al Golden to interview, contemplate, and ultimately, if I had to put my money on it, I would probably say Al Golden would go to the NFL if presented with the right opportunity. So this is now probably going to be 3 new coaching positions that Notre Dame has to fill over the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to be honest. The Harry Hiestand retirement hurts, right? For multiple reasons. I think if fans would be honest, his retirement hurts for multiple reasons. Tommy Rees, as we found out, the way you guys spoke up about it, it was almost like people felt like, you know what? We knew this was coming, so we just ripped the Band-Aid off, right? With Al Golden, I don't know how you guys feel because I really don't think Notre Dame fans have really sunk their teeth into Al Golden as a coordinator as of yet. So there really hasn't been any buy-in. So for him to leave and go to the NFL or go take another position, I wouldn't see that as being hurtful to the fans or the fan base. And in my opinion, there are some candidates out there to be defensive coordinator that I would think would be an upgrade over Al Golden if he indeed decided to leave. Opportunities may not come. Tyler Bench, you're on to something. I see what you're saying. You're on to something right there, my brother. I wouldn't be mad with that at all. At all. Mike Huff, he says, don't really care if Golden goes. Marcus can handle that defense. Mike, I think a lot of fans might agree with you and might share the same sentiments. It's like, okay, he's gone. Okay, cool. You know, it was D Rock Irish said I reached out on Ludwig to some Utah folks would hate to see him leave. Others felt Ludwig's offense was held back, too conservative, and didn't open up the offense like he wants to. Oh wow, that's interesting. I actually talked to um, my guy. He's going to join us sometime this week. Josh Newman, who covers the Utah Utes. Me and Josh got acquainted, of course, when Jalen Johnson was drafted by the Bears. That's when we first connected. And we were talking about Andy Ludwig over the weekend. And D Rock, I can confirm the things that you heard from your people. I can confirm with my conversation with Josh Newman, who is the beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune that covers the Utah Utes. Some of those same sentiments were shared in our conversation. And Josh said, man, just let him know. And more than likely this week, uh, we're going to have Josh on because I want to get the background, but I can see that. I can see that, because Utah recruits to a certain style that's best for them, and they play to a certain style that gives them the most consistent opportunity to win the most football games. And we've already talked about how resourceful Andy Ludwig is with what he has, which lends us to believe if he had more resources, he would definitely open it up and have even more success as an offensive coordinator. So actually, D-Rock, what you heard and what I've heard is very encouraging. But the overall vibe from what I'm hearing and the vibe from the pictures and the video is that it was a very positive interview, visit to South Bend, and I wouldn't be shocked if we hear something in the next 24 hours or the next 48 hours. All right. We did see the breaking news. This is funny. Uh, Justin Scott is going to take an official visit to Georgia. He's also going to end up taking official visits to Ohio State, Michigan, and Notre Dame as well. So he's going to take his last bit of visits once the basketball season is done. I spoke to him Saturday. They had a big win to close out the regular season against Mark Carmel. Big time win against a big time rival. We talked about the game, talked about the playoffs a little bit, and he did let me know that, man, I'm getting ready to set up my visits. And once my visits are done, man, I'll make my decision. He's not going to drag it out. So these visits are literally like, everyone has to hit it. Everyone has to hit it because these visits are going to be very important. He's going to go on the visits. He's going to make his last decision, and we'll see where it goes from there. But absolutely, he is still very much a Midwest kid, in my opinion. Fully understand why he's taking a trip to Georgia based upon what they've produced at his position recently. But he is still a Midwest kid at heart, and he still has the same love and affinity for the University of Notre Dame, and specifically Marcus Freeman. So the Tommy Rees situation has little to no effect on Justin Scott. Little to no effect. Even though Tommy was the Chicago plug, little to no effect with Tommy Rees leaving on the recruitment of Justin Scott. Lucky Lefty podcast. Let's get to super chats and questions. I ain't afraid of no goats. Thank you for the super chat. Do we think that maybe they have interviewed too many offensive coordinators that did want to bring in their own offensive coach or O-line coach? Do you think they said something to the effect to Harry? No. Had nothing to do with the search. Multiple conversations to keep him on the staff took place. Marcus Freeman was locked in and saying he wanted the staff to stay intact. And the ball started rolling on Harry Hiestand as soon as Tommy made his decision. So, Papiti, thank you for tapping in as always. Thank you for the super chat. So, am I way off and wondering if there's something going on in South Bend and OC and O-line coach leave within a month? Timing is horrible. What happens to our O-line class? MF has to feel snake bitten. Not really. I think no, I wouldn't say he feels snake bitten by Tommy, but I think he was very prepared for Tommy to leave because it was expected. And as far as Harry Hiestand, I think it's understandable why he moved the way he moved after Tommy left. But I think it kind of took people were kind of shocked. Like, really? So I'll leave it at that. James Bucker. Thanks for the super chat. It's got to be a bit concerning. Harry is retiring after 1 year with Freeman. I love Freeman. I'm sure it's just coincidence, but it's a bit concerning with Harry. First Tommy, okay, but then Tommy had nothing to do with Marcus Freeman. Tommy leaving had everything to do with Tommy. Tommy sat there and told the players he loved them and he was staying to win a national championship, and turned around after he spoke to them a month later or weeks later and was trying to get a job in Miami, or at least discussing a job in Miami. Tommy is Tommy. So we can stop circling around Marcus Freeman. Tommy was Tommy. And Tommy is going to continue to be Tommy. And I said it last week. I don't think Marcus Freeman is losing one bit of sleep over Tommy Rees leaving Notre Dame. Not one bit. Just my opinion. I don't think he's losing 1 minute of sleep over Tommy Rees leaving. I heard that he spoke with Harry Hiestand to try to keep him. I'm not too sure the same conversation happened with Tommy Rees. And Harry, once again, as a byproduct of not wanting to work with a new OC, and being Tommy was the main reason he came back to Notre Dame. He flat out was. Well, we said that last year when he came back. Anthony Solomon, thank you for the super chat from one GC to another. I appreciate the professionalism displayed by you and Malik. We appreciate it. Hey, we're trying to get better. We're working on it. We both have crazy schedules. I was in the city earlier taking care of some business and just wanted to make it back. He's on the road, literally driving to LA, and his signal was crazy. We tried to make it work and come on an hour earlier before he got on the road, but I couldn't change my appointments I had earlier. So, I just told him, I'll go ahead and knock out the show since we have it scheduled. And then if you want to come on tonight, we can do that as well. But it's going to be up to him depending upon what time he gets back and what his schedule looks like. But we appreciate you, Anthony Solomon, and everyone else that taps in and shows support to us. Adam Shipley, thank you for tapping in. So what you are being critical of a man who didn't want to do it anymore, he had to be talked into coming back, and I don't want a player or coach who doesn't want to be here. I'm not being critical of the man at all. I think I was very congratulatory of Harry Hiestand, the man, and the coach. He's just not being 100% truthful. I'm going by the statement he released. He's not being 100% truthful in the statement. Because if Tommy Rees was still here, the reasons he gave for leaving wouldn't have made an impact. He would still be here. That's it. That's it. So I don't have a problem with Harry Hiestand at all. I'm just pointing out, might have to call a little BS on that right there. Jason Hughes, thank you for the super chat. We still got Chris Watt as a coach. Yes, Chris Watt is still there. But see, now this is the question, and we'll do some more digging and find out. Because now ultimately the last decision goes to Marcus Freeman. But you have to question whether or not the OC has influence, right? Because this is the thing. As I said before, for example, when Andy Ludwig showed up in South Bend, he knew Harry Hiestand was no longer on the staff. So that's a great thing. So now in his mind, does he have an assistant back in Utah that he wants to bring with him? Does he have a connection elsewhere that he wants to bring with him? So it's going to be very interesting. Irishman, the little big house hater. Lightfoot and Scott, a package deal. Are we recruiting him too? Yes, Marquise Lightfoot is being recruited. Actually, by both of them are being recruited by Georgia. Both of them have been offered by Georgia. Both are being recruited by Georgia. Lightfoot is also being recruited by Ohio State. It's pretty much the same schools for both of them. Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame. It's all the same. Yes, I would love to see them as a package in South Bend. Ed 3 says Tommy Rees leaving was addition by subtraction, losing Harry Hurts. Hopefully Andy Ludwig is planning to bring in his own guy or whomever the OC, the eventual offensive coordinator will be. So we'll dig a little bit more. But definitely the candidates knew that Harry Hiestand was no longer going to be part of the staff during their interviews of those that showed up on campus. All right? We'll try to get Left to you guys tonight. He's on the road. You guys pray safe travel for him and the rest of the crew that are in the car with him, that they make it back to Los Angeles in safety. And as I said before, Irish Breakdown, you guys can go over there right now to continue the conversation about Harry Hiestand, offensive coordinator position, Andy Ludwig and his visits to South Bend, and a lot more information over at Irish Breakdown. Don't forget, Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, and our YouTube page. Go follow us, subscribe, hit the like button, let everybody know it's the Lucky Lefty Podcast with all of our great content. We spin it different. You already know what time it is.
Petticoat, petticoat, petticoat junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty history? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, pettiest story of the day, brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. That premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. Hey, NFL, you have the nerve to tell me that you spent $800,000 for that field that took over 2 years to grow? And that's what that Super Bowl had to look like yesterday, with players slipping all over the place, kickers slipping on kickoffs, almost breaking their ankle. Are you kidding me? As much money that was put into that full production, from pregame show to the super pregame show to the performances before the kickoff to the halftime show to the postgame show to the postgame show. You couldn't get the field right? The actual surface that supports the performance that everyone, millions and billions of people around the world, are sitting at the same time to watch and be entertained. Only to have a subpar surface to perform on. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Dude. And seems like every time there's a big game in this stadium, the turf is an issue. Every time. NFL, get it right. It's ridiculous. People are complaining about calls. People are complaining about all this stuff. The surface impacted the quality of the game. And it was a fantastic game. Fantastic NFL theater. But just think about how much better it could have been on a Super Bowl surface to play on. A high quality playing surface would have elevated that game immensely. And it was already fantastic. It was already fantastic. Lucky Lefty Podcast. I know you guys said, maybe, maybe not. But I'm going to have to go ahead and put new defensive back at Notre Dame. I'm going to have to go ahead and put Thomas Harper on the petty train, man. Yo, you didn't have to throw Oklahoma State's football program under the bus like that, G. You didn't have to do that. My man literally just flat out said, yo, yeah, it's different here. Like, we actually have to go to class here. Like, what? My man. That was absolutely bogus on your part, man. I loved every minute of it, though. I'm going to keep it a buck. I loved every minute of it. I want to hear your boy, Gundy, respond to it. Hey, Coach, Thomas Harper pretty much said that the academic standard for the football team here are kind of lackluster. You know, what is your response to that? Come at me. I'm 40. I'm a man. Don't come in my program. Come at me. My education. Don't talk about my players. Don't talk about my program. Come at me. Yo, Chicago Bears fans, I put them on the petty train. You know why? There was not one fan base that didn't give a darn about that Super Bowl more than Chicago Bears fans. Chicago Bears fans could not wait until the clock hit 00 to start tweeting, the Bears are on the clock. The Bears are on the clock. It's all about the draft. It's all about the free agency. That's all you saw from Bears fans. You just watched a fabulous Super Bowl. Fantastic Super Bowl. And their first tweet, as soon as the game was done, was all about free agency and the draft. Look, Bears fans, you got plenty of time to get to free agency and the draft. Just enjoy the Super Bowl like everyone else, man. It is really ridiculous what I saw. Super Bowl party. This game is on. You know what the conversation in back of me was? Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. This is in the middle of the fourth quarter. with the game on the line, with two quarterbacks playing at an all-time high. In the midst of this game, in Chicago at a Super Bowl party, people are debating Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. Come on, man. Enjoy the moment. Bears fans didn't give a darn about that Super Bowl yesterday. Not one. They didn't give one single iota of a darn about who won that game yesterday. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Great show. You guys are the best, man. Thank you to everyone that tapped in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for keeping the chat lit every day. There's no better chat than the Lucky Lefty chat. You fans make it absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, for my guy Lucky, who's on the road, as soon as he gets back, I'll chop it up with him to see what he wants to do. You guys have a fantastic Monday. Hey, if you're still having hangover, take your meds, get right, man. Because I believe there's some really good news coming in the next 24 to 48 hours for Notre Dame fans. So for Left and me, have a fantastic Monday. But most of all, you have to make sure that you spin it different.